Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Will Pakistan send troops to Gaza to disarm Hamas? Reports say Donald Trump wants it, but Asim Munir is reluctant. It's a decision that could shape his reign. We'll tell you why. Meanwhile, another conflict is brewing. The US is blockading Venezuelan oil. Is this about drugs? Is this about oil? Or is this about regime change? And how does it impact you? In China, the economic pain is deepening. State-backed developer Vantage is on the brink of collapse. It could default as soon as next week. In Ethiopia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on his first bilateral visit. We'll tell you how India is rekindling old civilizational ties and making a new strategic play in Africa. Also in focus, why Elon Musk is looking to fund the Republican Party again, Donald Trump's party. Why violence has erupted in Dhaka with protesters marching towards the Indian High Commission. How India's new labour laws could mean smaller increments for you. Why the US job market is cracking with unemployment hitting a 4-year high, why FIFA is facing a backlash over ticket pricing, and how 2025 turned out to be a year that promised a lot but did not deliver. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Warner Brothers Discovery rejects Paramount's hostile takeover bid, says the terms of the Netflix merger are better. Earlier this month, Netflix announced it will buy the entertainment giant for nearly $83 billion. Days later, Paramount announced a counteroffer exceeding $100 billion. China's newest and most advanced aircraft carrier sails through the Taiwan Strait. This is the carrier's first transit of the sensitive waterway since entering service last month. Beijing claims it has sole sovereignty over the strait, which is a major maritime route for cargo traffic. Doctors in England go on strike for the 14th time in less than 3 years. The dispute with the government is over pay and jobs. The demand for a 26% hike has derailed negotiations. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has called the 5-day strike irresponsible. Finland's Prime Minister apologizes to citizens of Japan, China and South Korea. Some Finnish lawmakers had sparked outrage by posting pictures of themselves making derogatory squinting gestures. They claim it was to support Miss Finland 2025, who was stripped of her title last week for posting a similar picture. And Bhutan pledges $1 billion in cryptocurrency to develop a mindfulness city. Thimphu wants to make an economic hub for the Himalayan nation. Buddhist majority Bhutan prioritizes gross national happiness over growth, but widespread unemployment has forced thousands of young people to leave the country.
That's going to be next.
Pakistan's Asim Munir faces a new dilemma. No, he is not confused about his next promotion. He is confused about a decision that could determine his political future. And it concerns Gaza. It's been 2 months since the ceasefire deal in Gaza. Things have been tense but stable. So the focus is shifting to the next stage, to deploy a coalition of Muslim soldiers to Gaza. What will they do? Disarm Hamas and restore law and order. That will be their mission. And this is where Pakistan comes in. US President Donald Trump is pushing Pakistan to join this force. He wants Pakistani soldiers to police Gaza. Just one problem though. Asim Munir is reluctant. He does not want to send Pakistani soldiers to disarm Hamas. Reports say he will fly to Washington in the coming weeks. He will meet US President Trump for the 3rd time. That's the 3rd meeting in 6 months. And in that meeting, Trump is expected to raise Gaza again. But why is the US insisting on Pakistan? And why is their army chief Asim Munir reluctant? Let's answer the first question first. Why is Trump looking at Pakistan? For two reasons. One, the size and nature of the army. Pakistan has some 654,000 soldiers. That's way more than any country in West Asia. 654,000 soldiers. Saudi Arabia has around 200,000 soldiers. The UAE has around 65,000 and Qatar has around 22,000 soldiers. The only other possibilities where you'll find a sizable number of Muslim soldiers are Turkey and Iran. Iran, of course, is off the table, and Israel has vetoed Turkey's participation. Plus, Pakistan soldiers are experienced. Yes, they've lost all the wars they fought, but at least they've fought wars. And even losing counts as some sort of battlefield experience. That could come in handy in Gaza. Which brings us to the second reason why Trump wants Pakistan. Asim Munir is seen as Trump's man. The US president hosted him for a one-on-one meeting in June. That too without any civilian leaders from Pakistan. So chances are Trump feels confident asking Munir, but Munir is not keen to send his soldiers. The question is why? And again, I'll give you two reasons for this. One, it could be a military nightmare. Pakistan's job would be to disarm Hamas fighters. These are battle-hardened men. They are fresh after 2 months of ceasefire. What if they refuse to disarm? Pakistan could get drawn into a fight against Hamas, and that's something Islamabad does not want.
We are not ready for that. This is not our job, but of the Palestinian law enforcement agencies. Our job is peacekeeping, not peace enforcement. As per my information, if it will include disarming Hamas, then even my Indonesian counterpart has informally expressed his reservation.
Secondly, it would be an unpopular decision in Pakistan. You see, Pakistan is overwhelmingly pro-Palestine. Around 91% of their people sympathize with Gaza, only 2% align with Israel. Public opinion is usually a non-issue for Asim Munir, but in this case, it could backfire spectacularly because Pakistan has strong Islamist parties that oppose the US and oppose Israel. They may not have a lot of seats in Pakistan's sham parliament, but on the streets, they can mobilize tens of thousands of people, and Asim Munir cannot afford that, certainly not right now. As we speak, he's facing a stiff challenge from former Prime Minister Imran Khan. His condition in jail is back in the news. Yesterday, his sister tried to visit Imran Khan in prison, and once again, the authorities refused to let her go. So hundreds of his supporters gathered in Rawalpindi, including senior leaders of his party, the PTI, that's the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, that's Imran Khan's party. They protested outside the Adiala jail, the jail where Imran Khan is being kept. The army responded with a violent crackdown. They fired water cannons to repel the protesters. And remember, Imran Khan has directly blamed Asim Munir for his imprisonment. So if Munir joins the Gaza force, Imran Khan will capitalize, his party will hit the streets in protest, and Asim Munir could face a new coalition of powers, Imran Khan plus Islamists, which is why he's in a fix. So which way will he go? If he turns down Donald Trump, he could lose an important ally, an ally who could help his economy and his military. But if he agrees to Trump, he could face a rebellion at home. There are no easy choices here, but then again, Munir can only blame himself. He put all his eggs in Trump's basket. He grabbed authority from the civilian leaders of Pakistan, so now he must take a decision that could reshape his reign. Imagine waking up in Venezuela this morning. The US is calling your government a terrorist organization. Your lifeline, oil, is being choked. The world's most powerful navy is parked right off your coast. and there are whispers of regime change. And this did not come out of nowhere. It has been building up to this for months. It started with a single accusation. US President Donald Trump accused Venezuela of drug trafficking. He said they're moving the drug fentanyl into the US. Soon, American warships moved into the region. Washington attacked boats. It called them drug boats, and it killed more than 90 people.
I have to say the drugs coming in by sea are down 94%. And we're trying to figure out who the other 6% are. But they're down 94%, and we're going to start hitting them on land, which is a lot easier to do, frankly. But these are a direct military threat to the United States of America. They're trying to drug out our country.
It seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. The American government, it openly discussed plans for a land operation, and now here we are. The US is blockading Venezuela's oil. What does that mean? It means oil tankers cannot enter or leave Venezuela. And for a country that lives on oil, this is the death knell. So what is this really about? Is it about stopping drugs? Is it about Venezuela's oil? Or is it about toppling the Venezuelan regime? Tonight we'll try to break it down for you. But first of all, look at the country that we're focusing on, Venezuela. It is located on the northern coast of South America. The capital city is called Caracas. This country has around 28 million people. It also has the largest proven oil reserves on the planet. That's right, Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia or any other country for that matter, the largest proven oil reserves. So for them, oil is not just an export, it is their lifeline. It's what the government survives on. And what has Trump done? He is choking this lifeline. He has ordered a quote-unquote total and complete blockade of sanctioned oil tankers. What does that mean? Say a ship is carrying Venezuelan oil. According to the US, this ship is illegal. So they can stop, seize, or sanction the ship. And this is a direct blow to Venezuela's oil supply.
We tell the people of the United States our truth, and it is very clear. Imperialism and the Nazi-fascist right wing want to colonize Venezuela to take our wealth, oil, gas, gold, iron, aluminum, and other minerals. We have sworn to defend our homeland, and in Venezuela peace will always prevail, along with stability and shared happiness for our people.
But why are the Americans doing this? Why this blockade now? Like I said, Trump has been ramping up pressure. He has sanctioned ships. He has targeted the relatives of President Maduro. He has blacklisted businesses and deployed American military assets closer to Venezuelan waters. So this oil blockade is the logical escalation of that campaign. And it gives the Americans leverage. You see, Venezuela is already economically fragile. The economy was surviving on oil exports. You cut that and you bring Venezuela to its knees. By blocking oil, you create maximum pressure with minimum boots on the ground. And this is not just about Venezuela. This blockade has implications for the whole world. The moment the markets heard blockade, prices jumped. Oil prices went up by 2.5%. Now, Venezuela exports roughly 600,000 barrels of oil per day, which is not a big number in the larger scheme of things. But remember, the oil market is already turbulent. When you add more uncertainty to it, it triggers fears and prices rise. They did not spiral out of control, but this could affect countries that rely on Venezuelan crude, countries like China. In fact, China is the biggest loser here. It buys most of Venezuela's oil, often through complicated routes to dodge sanctions. Much of that oil repays old Chinese loans. So if tankers are blocked, China's supply chains get disrupted. Beijing may not want a showdown with the US, but it also doesn't like losing an energy partner. What about India? Well, in 2024, India imported around 1 million barrels of Venezuelan crude, which made up only 1.5% of India's oil needs. So this blockade won't hurt New Delhi. Having said that, India is watching these developments closely because India hates supply uncertainty. Any disruption pushes global prices higher, and that will hit India's import bill directly. So I come back to the question, what is all of this really about? Is it about drugs? Is it about oil? Or is it about something else altogether? Analysts say this is about regime change. Venezuela is ruled by Nicolas Maduro. He became president in 2013 and he's been president since. The US does not like him. They want him gone. But then again, they wanted him gone for years now. Why are they applying pressure now? What has changed now? Also, there's another layer in this plot, and that is Venezuela's opposition. It is actively courting Washington. Take Maria Corina Machado. She is a prominent opposition leader. This year, she won the Nobel Peace Prize, and she dedicated it to Donald Trump, who did not win the Peace Prize. So the Venezuelan opposition is courting the United States. It is promising to open Venezuela's oil sector to American companies.
Only God knows that. What I can tell you is that Maduro's regime is in its final days. It will come to an end with or without negotiations. It is in Maduro's best interest for it to be through negotiations. At this point, he must be very clear about that, and there are probably actors who do not want him to do so or will not let him do so.
And while all of this sounds good on paper, history has not been kind to such plans. America knows this well. From Iraq to Libya, toppling regimes is easy. Managing the consequences is much harder. Removing Maduro could unleash chaos in Venezuela. It could destabilize the whole region. So while regime change is part of the picture, it's also a very high-risk gamble. In China, the property crisis is spiraling. One of the country's biggest developers is in trouble. We are talking about Vantage. It is days away from a default. It has amassed a whopping $52 billion in debt. One by one, the loans are coming due, and the company is running out of time to repay them. In fact, this week, Vantage missed a major repayment deadline. It had taken out a loan of 2 billion yuan, that's about 284 million US dollars. This debt was due on Monday. Vantage missed the deadline. It couldn't make the repayment. So what happens now? Under normal rules, you get a 5-day grace period. But this company wants more, a lot more time. Vantage has reached out to its lenders. It is asking for a 30-day extension to repay the dues. A meeting of their lenders has been scheduled. It's on the 22nd of December. That's when the lenders will vote on Vantage's proposal. If they approve it, the company gets a lifeline. If they don't, the company will default. It will default as soon as next week. At this point, the odds are 50-50. It could go either way. Vantage needs 90% of its lenders to approve the proposal. And in the past, it has sought a similar extension, and that request was rejected. So now the company has made a fresh offer to its lenders. It is ready to pay an interest on the debt before the 5-day grace period ends. Basically, Vantage wants to pay the interest by the 22nd of December. That's around 60 million yuan. They will pay it. And then it will pay the principal amount in 30 days' time, which is around 2 billion yuan. This is the proposal. They hope to convince their lenders. But behind the scenes, they're also meeting banks and insurers. A closed-door meeting was supposed to happen in Shenzhen today. Reports say insurance firms and commercial banks were invited. The agenda is not clear, but it's safe to assume that Vantage's debt problems were up for discussion. The developer is desperate to avoid a default. The stakes are high because another debt repayment is approaching. Later this month, a bond payment is coming due. It's a loan worth 3.7 billion yuan, that's over 500 million US dollars. The loan is due on the 28th of December. In this case too, Vantage has sought an extension. They want to delay the payment by 1 year. And that, in a nutshell, is the story. This company is stumbling from one deadline to the next. It scrambles to avoid one default, and before that's done, another payment comes due. This is what you'd call a perfect storm. What's worse, Vanke is not a private company. It is backed by the Chinese state. Its largest shareholder is a company called Shenzhen Metro Group. It's a Chinese state-owned company. Earlier this year, this company came to Vanke's rescue. It had pumped billions into the developer. Despite that support, Vanke is still struggling. Now, Beijing could easily cut a check and rescue it, but this time the Chinese state is quiet. There is no sign of direct intervention, no talk of a state-funded bailout. And that is why Vanke is struggling to convince its lenders. You see, it doesn't have Beijing support, and that does not inspire confidence. The lenders have good reasons to be wary. If a state-owned giant like Vanke is allowed to default, what hope do others have? Also, do remember, real estate was a key growth engine for China. At one point, it made up a quarter of the entire economy. But since 2021, the sector has been gripped by a crisis. Developers have defaulted, home sales have fallen, and demand remains weak. Amid this chaos, Vanke was considered a safe bet. But today, even they are struggling. If this company is allowed to fail, it will be seen as a clear message from Beijing. China is ready to let more developers collapse. That is the message. There is no safety net, not even for state-linked entities. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say Ethiopia? Some of you may think just another African country, others may think conflict, instability, war. But today Ethiopia is in news because the Indian Prime Minister is there. But why is he there? Well, this story is about answering that question. Why is he there? Prime Minister Modi is on a 3-nation tour. The first stop was Jordan. From there, it was a quick flight to Ethiopia. That's the second leg of his trip. And it wasn't a courtesy stop. This visit was about history, strategy, and the future of the global south. Let me tell you that story tonight, starting with the story of Ethiopia. It's a country located in the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia is a landlocked country. Its capital is the city of Addis Ababa. That's where Prime Minister Modi landed. And Ethiopia's history is quite interesting. It is one of the oldest civilizations on Earth. Scientists say some of the earliest footprints of humanity were found here in this country. It is the only African nation that was never colonized. So it was a symbol of African independence. Ethiopia is home to the African Union headquarters, meaning Addis Ababa is Africa's diplomatic capital. And in 2024, Ethiopia joined the BRICS grouping. Now, this is Prime Minister Modi's first ever bilateral visit to Ethiopia, also the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 15 years, and the timing is also important. In 2026, India will take over the BRICS chairmanship. Ethiopia is a new BRICS member. Both countries are part of the global south, so this visit is about alignment. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi was awarded Ethiopia's highest civilian honor, the Great Honor Nishan of Ethiopia. That's what it's called. And here's the headline. Indian Prime Minister Modi is the first global leader to receive this. The visit also had a personal touch. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed personally received Prime Minister Modi at the airport. He drove him to the hotel and again drove him back to the airport. In diplomacy, such gestures speak louder than press releases. Prime Minister Modi also addressed Ethiopia's parliament. He drew parallels between Vande Mataram and Ethiopia's national anthem.
India's national song, Vande Mataram, and the Ethiopian national anthem both refer to our land as the mother. They inspire us to take pride in the heritage culture, national beauty, and protect the motherland.
Now, here's the part most people don't know. India-Ethiopia ties are nearly 2,000 years old. Back when Europe was still figuring itself out, Indian traders were sailing across the Red Sea to Ethiopian ports. They traded spices, silk and cotton for gold and ivory. More importantly, they traded ideas. Centuries later, Ethiopians were resisting colonial pressure and Indians stood beside them. Indian soldiers fought in Africa during the Second World War. Indian teachers taught generations of Ethiopian students. So this visit is not about striking a new friendship, it is about renewing an old one. The two countries upgraded ties to a strategic partnership.
Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed and I took a big step forward yesterday. We have decided to elevate our bilateral relationship to the level of a strategic partnership. We will also enhance our trade and investment cooperation as well as on defense and security matters. Honorable members, as developing countries, we have a lot to learn from and offer to each other.
India is already Ethiopia's second largest trading partner. Indian companies have invested over $5 billion there. Around 650 Indian firms operate in Ethiopia. This creates tens of thousands of local jobs. India also has extended over $1 billion in concessional credit. This is to fund railways, electrification and industrial projects. Also, 80% of Ethiopians depend on agriculture for survival. And India knows the story too well, which is why agricultural cooperation is front and center. So is renewable energy. India plans to bring solar rooftops, off-grid power, solar pumps for farmers and energy access to remote villages. So this visit tells us three things. One, India is serious about Africa, not as a region for resources, but as an equal partner. Ethiopia sits at the crossroads of Africa, so being close to it means being close to Africa's future. That's number one. Two, India is preparing for leadership in BRICS and the Global South, which means engaging with all the stakeholders is important. And three, India is betting on long-term relationships, not transactional diplomacy. Long story short, this visit was not about optics, it was about positioning, two ancient civilizations reconnecting to shape the future. In a rapidly changing global order, quiet friendships often turn out to matter the most. And India-Ethiopia is one of those friendships. Elon Musk is back in the headlines. This time it's not for his net worth or one of his companies. This time it's for his politics. Reports say Musk is funding the Republicans again. He's giving money for the 2026 US midterm elections. The midterm elections decide who controls the US Congress. They take place halfway through a president's term, hence the name midterm. They determine whether a president can pass laws easily. Now, Musk has decided to fund Trump's party, the Republican Party, and he's doing it after a turbulent year. In 2024, Elon Musk backed Donald Trump. Then he joined the Trump administration. Then he broke up with President Trump publicly and dramatically. Then Musk launched his own political party called the America Party. But instead of contesting elections through that party, he is funding the Republicans again. Our next story tells you why.
Elon Musk is funding Republican campaigns again.
You show what matters by your actions.
Reports say the world's richest man has begun donating to House and Senate races ahead of the 2026 US midterm elections. Large checks have already been reportedly written, and more contributions are expected over the coming months. The exact amounts are not public yet. They will only appear in official campaign finance filings next year. But the move itself is significant, because just months ago, Musk was stepping away from politics. In the 2024 election cycle, Musk was a central figure. He strongly backed Donald Trump. And he became the single largest political donor of that campaign.
I wonder if he's ever going to ask me for something.
After Trump returned to the White House in January, Musk joined the administration. He was placed in charge of a federal cost-cutting effort, and he worked closely with senior officials during the early months. But that relationship did not last. Musk left the job in May after his contract ended. Soon after, a public feud began. He criticized Trump's spending plans and attacked the president online. In July, Musk announced the creation of a new political party. It is called the America Party. Musk said the party would focus on reducing the federal deficit and that it would initially target only a small number of key political races. The move was widely seen as a rebuke to Trump and as a challenge to the Republican Party itself. Trump, too, responded publicly. He called Musk unstable and said that he was disappointed with him. At the time, the split appeared serious, but the tone has since changed. In recent months, Musk has reappeared around Republican power centers. Reports say he attended private dinners with senior figures from Trump administration.
Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Musk was also present at a White House dinner for Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And he appeared publicly with Trump at a memorial event for conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Reports say Musk and Trump now speak occasionally.
You're so lucky I'm with you, Elon. I'll tell you, has he ever thanked me properly? Although I do let him buy other than electric cars.
And now, Musk is funding Republican campaigns once again. There is no public indication that the America Party is actively contesting the elections.
Who else but this guy would...
No candidates have been announced. No campaigns have been launched under its banner. Instead, Musk's political activity is now visible elsewhere. After months of open confrontation, this marks a change in direction. As one of the largest political donors in the country, Musk's money carries weight. And with the 2026 midterms expected to be closely fought, that weight could matter. Whether this signals a lasting reset with Donald Trump or a temporary convergence of interests remains to be seen. But for now, Elon Musk is back inside the political system he once said he wanted to challenge.
Everyone likes a rewind, but not the kind that Bangladesh is doing. Their capital is looking a lot like July 2024. That's when radicals hijacked public protests in Dhaka. More than 16 months later, it's déjà vu. Hundreds of radicals hit the streets in Bangladesh earlier today. Their target? The Indian High Commission. Thankfully, the police intervened. They blocked the roads leading to the Indian mission. Take a look. Who are these so-called protesters? They belong to a group called July Echo, meaning July Unity. It refers to the campaign that toppled Sheikh Hasina. And what do they want? Well, mainly two things. First is the extradition of Sheikh Hasina from India. Second is justice for an attempted murder. Now listen closely. On Friday, a Bangladeshi student leader was shot in Dhaka. His name is Osman Hadi. Reports say he's alive, but he's in a coma. Now, Hadi leads a radical group in Bangladesh. He's known for his anti-India rhetoric, so his supporters are blaming India. They say that Hadi's shooters escaped across the border. They went to India. No proof, no police verification, just a baseless allegation. Which brings us to today. When the protest was announced, India reacted. New Delhi summoned Bangladesh's High Commissioner. Let me quote from India's statement. The High Commissioner's attention was drawn in particular to the activities of some extremist elements who have announced plans to create a security situation around the Indian mission in Dhaka. India completely rejects the false narrative sought to be created by extremist elements regarding certain recent events in Bangladesh. And this wasn't the only flashpoint. Another Bangladeshi group is also stoking the fire. That's the NCP, the National Citizen Party. One of their leaders talked about breaking up India. He threatened to isolate the Seven Sisters. Now, some quick context here. The Seven Sisters refers to India's 7 northeastern states. They share a long border with Bangladesh. In the past too, this has been a flashpoint. Under previous regimes, Bangladesh has aided insurgent groups in the northeast. And the NCP is promising to repeat that. They say they will give refuge to separatist groups from India. Naturally, India has protested this too. They lodged an official complaint with the High Commissioner. And all of this is enraging, but it's also quite sad. Because look at the timing. Yesterday was Victory Day for our countries. India celebrated its victory over Pakistan in 1971 and Bangladesh celebrated its liberation. Our people fought together in that war. They bled together on the battlefield. Yet look at the situation now. The Indian High Commission is the symbol of Indian power in Dhaka. Imagine trying to encircle and attack it. It signals a complete breakdown in ties. Yesterday, the Indian Prime Minister's effigies were burnt in Dhaka. Anti-India rallies were organized. Anti-India slogans were raised. Yet what did the interim regime do? Absolutely nothing. In fact, they made matters worse. Look at what Bangladesh's foreign minister is saying about the 1971 war. I'm quoting. It is true that India achieved victory against Pakistan, but their own experts acknowledge that without the weakening of the Pakistan army by local resistance, India's victory would have taken much longer with far greater losses and casualties. Without the support of the freedom fighters, this victory could not have been achieved. We did not know it was a competition. India has never downplayed Bangladesh's role in 1971. In fact, India fought for Bangladesh. Our soldiers carried the Bangladeshi flag into Dhaka. They shouted Joy Bangla or Hail Bengal as they entered the capital. That spirit is very much alive here in India, but I'm afraid it is not in Bangladesh. Frankly, this interim regime is a lost cause. All hope now lies on the elections in February. Let's see what a new elected government brings. Let's talk about your next pay hike. If you work in India, this story is for you. India is about to introduce new labor laws. India's labor laws were a mess when they were spread across 29 different rules, each with its own definition, its own threshold and exemptions. This created a lot of confusion for both companies and workers. But now those 29 rules are being merged. They're being clubbed into 4 simple labor codes. And this might change the amount of money that lands into your account. Not your salary on paper, but your real monthly take home. The rules could force a rejig of how your salary is split. So will your next increment feel smaller than before? It all depends on your company, actually. If they restructure your pay, more money could go into your retirement savings or what is commonly known as the Provident Fund. But your in-hand salary could dip. Although the government has issued a clarification, they say for most employees, there won't be any drastic change. And yet, there are things that you should watch out for, especially before your next appraisal kicks in. Here's a report.
Let's be honest, nobody really understands their salary slip. Your offer letter might say 60,000, but your bank balance tells a different story. The one person who understands this mess is HR. Now, India is bringing in new labor codes. And the big question is this: will your take-home salary shrink next year? Especially after your appraisal. Let's break it down. Right now, companies split your salary into different parts. There's your basic pay, your allowances, your bonuses, and your deductions, like Provident Fund or PF. Most companies keep the basic pay low. Why? Because your provident fund or retirement savings are linked to that. So lower basic pay means lower provident fund deduction, and you end up getting more cash in hand. The new labor code changes that. It says your basic salary must be at least 50% of your total package. That means for many people, the basic pay goes up, and so does the deduction towards retirement savings. That means your take-home salary could come down. But India's Labour Ministry issued a clarification recently. It says for most people nothing really changes, especially if your provident fund or retirement savings are already capped at 15,000 rupees. Let's explain. If you earn a basic salary of 15,000 rupees per month, your monthly PF cut is 12% of that amount. That's 1,800 rupees. That rule stays the same, and it's voluntary to increase this deduction, even under the new code. So if you were already following this system, your take-home won't change much. The government gave an example. Say you earn 60,000 rupees a month, out of that 20,000 is basic pay, and 40,000 goes towards allowances. The cut towards your provident fund is still 1,800 rupees, which means your take-home is around 56,000 rupees. And it stays that way, even after the new rules. But there's a catch. Not everyone will escape the impact. Some employers might restructure salaries. They could increase your basic pay to meet the 50% rule, and that could increase your PF, gratuity, and leave encashment deductions. So yes, your take-home might shrink. So what does this mean for your next appraisal? It depends. If your company keeps the structure unchanged, you'll see the full raise in your account. But if they tweak the numbers to meet the new rule, you might get a pay hike on paper, but not in your pocket. Here's the bottom line. Will your take-home salary shrink next year? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on how your company responds and how your salary is structured. But one thing is certain, the HR department is going to be very, very busy, and it might be a good time to actually read your salary slip before the fine print catches up.
Warning signs are flashing in the American economy, and they're not coming from the Wall Street, they're coming from the Main Street. The job market is slowing, people are spending less, and the impact is no longer abstract. Yesterday, the US posted a number. It immediately grabbed headlines. Unemployment in the United States has risen to 4.6%. 4.6% last month. That's the highest level in 4 years. The last time it was this high was in 2021, and that was during the Wuhan virus pandemic. And now they've gone back to the same level. What does it mean? In simple words, it means that more Americans are without work, that finding a job is getting tougher, and that competition for jobs is increasing. But why is this happening? Why is unemployment rising in the world's biggest economy? For multiple reasons. Number one, the government has cut jobs. Earlier this year, the Trump administration decided to shrink the federal government. They said it was too large, it was too expensive, so they decided to cut spending, not by mass firings, but by offering employees deferred resignation deals. Again, what does that mean? What is a deferred resignation deal? It's a deal where government workers chose to leave voluntarily. They were paid for a short transition period, and then they were removed from the payroll. More than 150,000 federal employees took that offer, 150,000 people. As these workers left and looked for new jobs, they were counted as unemployed. And the result was this. In the month of October, federal government employment fell by more than 160,000 jobs. It is the sharpest drop in more than a decade. That's reason one, fewer government jobs. The second reason for high unemployment is a hiring freeze. And this is across the private sector. This freeze is being driven by policy uncertainty. Companies are not sure what is coming next, so they're not hiring more people. And this is directly linked to Donald Trump's trade war. He has slapped tariffs left, right, and center. He says this is to protect American industry. But you see, tariffs also raise costs for US businesses. When costs rise, profits become harder to predict. And when profits are uncertain, companies become cautious. This delays expansion. And companies freeze hiring. This does not always lead to mass layoffs, but it does mean fewer new jobs. And when job creation slows, unemployment rises over time. But guess what? President Trump insists that the US economy is strong. He insists that prices are coming down for people, that wages are rising, and that America is entering a quote-unquote golden age.
They gave you the highest inflation in history, and we're bringing those prices down rapidly. Lower prices, bigger paychecks. You're getting lower prices, bigger paychecks. We're getting inflation, we're crushing it. And you're getting much higher wages. I mean, the only thing that's really going up big, it's called the stock market and your 401ks.
Trump has repeated this message across the country, but the data punctures his claims because this story is far more complex. Yes, the Wall Street is doing well, but most Americans do not live off stocks. They live off paychecks and job security, and that is where the pressure is showing. Unemployment is rising, hiring is slowing, and wage growth is losing momentum. This pressure is also showing up in polls. A new poll is out. It shows Trump's approval ratings are slipping. Overall, approval has fallen to around 39%. It was 47% at the beginning of the second term. On the economy front, the numbers are even lower. Just 33% of Americans approve of Trump's economic policies, and this is not a polling blip. This is a signal. The US economy is not in a free fall, but it is slowing down, and for millions of Americans, that slowdown is feeling personal. That's the signal that the White House cannot afford to ignore. Our next story is about the Football World Cup. It comes once every 4 years. It is organized by a body called FIFA. FIFA is the body that governs world football. The next World Cup will be held in 2026. It will take place in the US, Canada, and Mexico. It is the biggest tournament ever. 48 teams will compete in the event, but even before the first ball is kicked, the tournament is under scrutiny. FIFA's ticket prices have triggered a global reaction. Fans say the World Cup has become too expensive. Some tickets were priced in thousands of dollars. This led to a backlash. It forced FIFA to cut ticket prices. A limited number of tickets will now cost just $60. But critics say it's far from enough. Here's a report.
FIFA is facing growing pressure. Just months before the 2026 World Cup, football's governing body has been forced to change course. After a wave of global backlash, FIFA has lowered some ticket prices. FIFA stands for the Fédération Internationale de Football Association. It is the organization that runs world football, and it controls the World Cup. On Tuesday, FIFA announced a new ticket category. A limited number of tickets will now cost $60. That includes tickets for every match, even the final. FIFA says these tickets are meant for loyal supporters. They will be distributed through national football associations. FIFA is calling this the supporter entry tier, but the numbers are small. Only a few hundred of these tickets will be available per match. For the final, around 450 seats will be priced at $60. The announcement follows days of anger from supporters. When ticket prices were first released, supporters were stunned. The cheapest tickets ranged from $120 to more than $265. That was just for group stage games. Fans following their team through every match to the final were facing total costs close to $7,000. That figure covered multiple games. By contrast, some single tickets for the final alone were priced above $4,000. Supporter groups accused FIFA of pricing ordinary fans out. They criticized dynamic pricing and resale fees, and they said loyal supporters were being sidelined. But despite FIFA's decision to lower prices, fan organizations say it needs to do more.
It is a step into the right direction. but it's clearly not sufficient. The other thing is that the gap between two categories is enormous. So it is a good and a fair price for some, a few hundreds of fans, and then when you move on to the next step on the ladder, it's very, very expensive. So we would see it as again a first step into the right direction, but FIFA needs to do more.
Fan groups have warned that atmosphere inside stadiums could suffer. They have also raised concerns about access for fans with disabilities. The backlash has now reached the political level. The British Prime Minister welcomed the lower-priced tickets, but he urged FIFA to do more.
As someone who used to save up for England tickets, I encourage FIFA to do more to make tickets more affordable, so that the World Cup doesn't lose touch with the genuine supporters who make the game so special.
FIFA says the new prices are designed to support traveling fans. It says half of each national association's ticket allocation will now fall into lower-priced categories. FIFA has also agreed to waive administrative fees when refunds are processed after the final. The 2026 World Cup will be the largest ever. It will feature 48 teams and will be hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The event is expected to generate at least $10 billion in revenue. With the tournament now just months away, the question remains, will FIFA's concession be enough to satisfy fans and preserve the World Cup atmosphere that makes the tournament special?
Every year brings with it some hype. There are promises of breakthroughs, there are promises of resets, and also bold predictions about new trends. And 2025 was no different. We entered the year expecting a lot of things would happen. But here are the 5 big things that did not happen. Number 1 on our list, we did not get a peace deal in Ukraine. People who studied the conflict may not be surprised. It's extremely complex and confusing, but not to US President Donald Trump, because he promised to end the war in Ukraine on day 1 in office.
Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, I will have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It will be settled quickly. I will get the problem solved, and I will get it solved in rapid order, and it will take me no longer than 1 day. Sometimes people have to fight it out a little bit longer, but I think we agree that the war is going to end in the not-too-distant future.
He said he'll end it in 1 day. Today is day 331 of Trump being in office, and last we checked, the war is still on. In fact, it got worse in 2025. More than 12,000 civilians were killed this year. That's up from around 9,000 in 2024. Yes, some progress was made on the negotiating table, but peace looks unlikely in 2025. Now let's look at another bold prediction for 2025. AI will reach stratospheric levels. It will take over your jobs, it will take over your creative thinking, it will mint billions for investors. That was the prediction. But the reality? Not quite rosy. AI continues to create a churn in the job market, but the impact is not as widespread as predicted. Only 10% companies have meaningfully adopted AI in their operations. And yet the money kept pouring in. In the first half of 2025, over $44 billion were invested in AI startups, $44 billion in just 6 months. And what was the result? A growing bubble. Turns out most of these models were not making money. A study found that 95% of AI firms had zero profits. In fact, multiple studies have said this. So 2025 was not a revolutionary year for artificial intelligence. It was a reality check year. Yes, we have great technology at hand, but we are yet to understand how to utilize it. Maybe we'll have better luck in 2026. Next is bold prediction number 3. The world will double down on electric vehicles. When 2025 started, it sounded like a no-brainer. Climate change was getting worse, EV technology was getting better, so naturally electric cars would explode. Well, think again. EV sales declined In North America, by 1% this year. This is being driven by policy changes and consumer choices. Consider what Ford announced this week. They're ditching plans to make large electric vehicles. Instead, they will focus on smaller hybrids. It's a decision that will cut their profits by $19 billion. And Ford is not the only one. Honda has cancelled $20 billion in EV investments. Jeep has abandoned its plans to electrify its big off-roaders. Porsche cancelled its proposed electric SUV, and Volkswagen halted EV production at 2 of its plants. Even governments are backtracking. The European Union had banned gasoline cars from 2035, but that ban has now been softened. So the bottom line, EVs are the future, but that future did not come this year. Our next expectation for 2025 was a political reset between India and China. The speculation began in September 2024. That's when India and China signed a border deal, a deal that ended 4 years of tensions. The reset gathered more speed thanks to Donald Trump. His tariffs put India and China in the same box. We saw Prime Minister Modi travel to China. We also saw this iconic picture splashed over global media. Prime Minister Modi, President Xi Jinping and President Vladimir Putin together. A lot of people expected greater things to come, maybe TikTok's re-entry to India, maybe a comprehensive trade or investment deal, but nothing happened. Instead, we got new flare-ups. In fact. China provoked India on Arunachal Pradesh. They detained and harassed an Indian passenger in Shanghai. Why? Because her passport said that she was born in Arunachal. Again, bottom line, we had a reset, but not an embrace, which brings us to the final prediction/hype. A recession in 2025. The predictions were gloomy to begin with. Goldman Sachs projected a 35% chance. JP Morgan predicted a 60% chance of a recession. But look at the actual numbers. The global economy grew by around 2.7% in 2025. Global trade hit a record high of $35 trillion. And this is despite all the headwinds. You had 2 wars for most of 2025. You had a tariff war triggered by the United States, and yet the global economy was surprisingly resilient, and you can thank developing countries for that. They pushed on despite the headwinds. I know it's fun to compile lists like these before a new year, but this is not just about a recap. It's a learning exercise. Donald Trump should look back at where his peace push went wrong. AI bros need to figure out how to make this technology work, and car makers need to come clean with consumers. Should we buy EVs or not? Let's hope the misfires of 2025 can create a better 2026. Now let's talk about the one joke that comes back every year. Delhi's air. The AQI is poor, which is government language for please don't breathe too deeply. Official monitors say it's near 500. International monitors say it's around 800. Breathing this air is like smoking 43 cigarettes a day, which means Delhi is the only city where non-smokers still finish a pack by lunchtime. So naturally, the internet did what it does best. It made memes, because when you can't see the sun, you might as well see the jokes. Take a look. And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Clashes erupt in Spain as riot police attempt to clear a migrant settlement. Christmas lights illuminate several cities across the globe as the festive season draws near, and a Japanese woman marries ChatGPT in an intimate wedding ceremony. Finally, we're taking you back in history on this day in 1903. The Wright brothers achieved the first successful flight. Their airplane was made of wood and fabric. It had a 12-horsepower engine. The flight lasted for 12 seconds and covered 120 feet. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
I was born into privilege, but I sold myself as the voice of the poor. I led a revolution in the mountains and marched into Havana as a hero. I promised freedom, equality, dignity. What I built was a one-party state. I survived invasions, embargoes, and enemies, but my people survived shortages in silence. Some called me El Comandante. History calls me something else. A dictator. Who am I?